Hi everyone, Kyle here from Wide Awake PH. In today's episode, we'll be talking about my favorite conical dripper. So, my favorite conical dripper is this. This is called the Cafec flower. It's made in Japan by a company called Cafec, and actually, I've had this particular brewer for a couple of months now. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really enjoying the brews I was getting out of it. You see, when you pair this thing with a filter paper that is of a normal thickness, such as your standard Hario V60 filter, or even the Cafec Abaca filter or the Mola Abaca paper filter. Mola is the same brand. It's just how they brand themselves in China. The brews come out unbalanced. You see, this thing has a super fast flow rate, especially when paired with your standard paper filter thickness. As in, we're talking about brew times at around 1 minute 30 to 1 minute 45 seconds. That kind of brewing style is not for me because with these kinds of very fast brews, the taste balance is off. The body is very, very thin, and then the acidity is too sharp. Really not a harmonious cup profile, in my opinion. And in addition to that, if you take a look at Cafec's website, the literature, the photos that they use to describe the performance of this dripper is rather old school. The photos themselves show a super darkly roasted coffee. So it's not really in tune with Wide Awake's roasting style of roasting as light as we can given the origin of the bean. So we weren't using this particular brewer for months. But that all changed. As I was shopping through Shopee, I was wanting to try out the various kinds of filter papers present in the market. I have so many filter papers right now, like maybe 5 or 6 different ones. But for now, we're going to talk about this. This is the Cafec Light Roast Filter Paper, codenamed T-92. And this particular combination has changed the game for me with this particular dripper. It's elevated my brews to such a high level that we wanted to make a video about it and share this technique with you. The reason this combination works so well is because this particular light roast filter paper has a very unique approach when it comes to, of course, filtering your coffee. Because the texture of the filter paper and its thickness makes it such that the flow rate of the coffee when dripping down the bed is much slower compared to your standard filter paper. In addition, it also filters out or removes a lot of the oils that would otherwise be in the cup, such that the texture of the coffee is also different. It tastes a bit creamier, more fluffy, think like a creme brulee kind of texture. So that is the magic of this filter paper. So you combine a very slow flow rate with this particular filter paper with this thing, which has a very fast flow rate, and you get a harmonious balance between those two extremes. And yes, if you're going to ask, of course, this will work with other conical drippers. We've tried it with the Kono, we've tried it with the V60. It's just that the pairing with the Cafec flower for us is the best that we've tried so far. Now, let's discuss 2 different kinds of recipes that I like to do with this coffee, and I'll explain how those recipes pair well with what kinds of coffees. As a general rule, I would say the kinds of coffees that pair well with this particular brewing style are coffees that are pretty tasty on their own, meaning coffees at around 84 points and up. So you think about coffees with a distinctive acidity, something that is, of course, lightly roasted. And if you're looking for a flavor balance that puts an emphasis on flavor clarity, a crisp and clean sparkling acidity with a nice creamy but not necessarily thick and gooey body, this is the dripper and the approach for you. So, broadly speaking, we'll have 2 techniques or 2 recipes, And they're super simple. That's why I love it so much. The first technique is essentially a 2-pour recipe, and then the second technique is a 3-pour recipe. And the 2-pour recipe will pair well with coffees that are already flavor intense, that are not so soluble, so you'll have a pretty long contact rate. Think washed Ethiopians, washed Kenyan coffees. And then the other approach works well with coffees that are heavily processed. So usually heavily processed coffees are more soluble, so you technically have to grind them a little bit finer relative to those clean washed Ethiopians or clean washed Kenyan coffees that we all love and enjoy. So that's why we'll do a 3-pour recipe with that. So let's get to brewing. For the first recipe, we'll be brewing one of my favorite coffees right now on our menu, Kenya Nyeri Asali. So for me, this is scoring anywhere from 84 to 86 points. 84 to be conservative, 86 if I'm not being conservative. It's really tasty. You should go ahead and try it. We will do a 2-pour recipe with this. What's important to note is the grind size. Because the expected brew time is pretty slow, we're talking about in the realm of 3 to 5 minutes, depending on your grinder. If your grinder generates a lot of fines, expect 5 minutes. If your grinder does not generate a lot of fines, expect 3 to 4 minutes. Especially with this coffee, given that this coffee is again high density, will generate some fines when you grind, very lightly roasted, so not that soluble. To give you an idea, we are grinding at 5.6 or 56 on the ZP6. So that is, medium approaching medium coarse. Again, 13 grams. According to Lance Hedrick, when you're grinding with the hand grinder, it is actually really helpful to tilt your grinder this way so as to slow the feed rate into the grinder. And it will give the maximum performance, so as to say, with a hand grinder, meaning your hand grinder will give its 100% flavor potential if you're grinding this way. The con is you will be grinding maybe 30 to 40 seconds longer. Especially with me, I like to grind rather slowly like this when I'm home brewing. For conical brewers, it's very useful to pre-wet it in such a way that the filter paper will adhere to the sides of the brewer. So what we like to do is run it over tap water and really make sure that the filter paper is sticking to the sides and really takes the shape of the brewer. This will, trust me, this will really help with brewing consistency so that you'll stop second guessing yourself if it's like a technique issue or if it's a skill issue. Just do this, trust me, you'll save yourself a lot of time and headache. We'll place a small divot in the center. And then what we will do is a very simple 2-pour structure. 100 ml, let it bloom, let it rest for 40 to 45 seconds, and then we'll do another 100 ml. So the water is at 92 degrees Celsius, 100 ml, circle, and then center pour when we hit 60 ml. That's a flow rate of around 10 milliliters per second. So we're pouring rather fast. If you guys are familiar with this is very heavily inspired by April Coffee. We really do enjoy this style of brewing. The extraction rate won't be so high, but we really do appreciate the flavor balance that we are getting with this particular coffee. Okay, it's 45 seconds, so we do our last pour. 60 ml circle pour, and then 40 ml center pour. And 200. Then if you like, you can give the brewer a nice gentle swirl like this at the end. The Cafec flour comes in a couple of versions. There's the ceramic version we have not tested, but interestingly for us, it comes in this plastic version and this new one, Triton. The material is Triton, so from what I understand, it's supposed to be more durable, healthier for you, but it comes at a price premium. You know, we've been using these two drippers alternatively for months now, and we have not found a performance benefit or a durability benefit when switching from the plastic to the Triton. So it's up to you really if you're worried about your health when it comes to heating up plastics with super hot water. Yeah, as an insurance, yeah, you might just go with the Triton because there are no drawbacks to speak of. So for the filter papers, very interesting. So if you take a look at Shopee or Lazada, you will find two variants of the same filter paper, one in plastic, one in the box. So you can say that the boxed one looks more premium. They're not the same. In our experience, they are not brewing very similarly to one another. The one in plastic is brewing, we don't know why. It might be because they're produced in different factories. They might have very tiny specification difference. We really don't know. But what we do know is that they're not the same. So brews will taste a little bit different when bouncing around from this filter paper to this one. But they do share the same general characteristic in that they are slow and that they filter out a lot of the oils. Our brew is now done drawing down, and the total brew time is at 3 minutes and 50 seconds. As expected, because again, this is a very lightly roasted coffee, as in this is as light as I can possibly go with my Ilio Bullet with this particular coffee. What that means is, again, if it's a light roast, the coffee is not that soluble because we did not degrade it so much. So the cell structure of that coffee is still strong. That's why it's like this. And you can see the liquid, the color, it's quite different compared to your usual coffee, right? Like reddish brown, it doesn't look very thick, and it does reflect in the taste. So let's go ahead and taste this coffee. So let's evaluate the aroma first. Very strong upfront, cranberry, hibiscus, tea-like vibe. You know, it's the kind of coffee when you smell it, you know it's gonna be good. Yeah. So that's the kind of flavor balance I'm looking for when it comes to this kind of coffee. So Kenyan Nyeri will have quite an intense acidity, especially when it comes to the cranberry and hibiscus kind of flavor. I don't really enjoy it when I'm grinding the coffee so fine, because then I run into astringency or kind of like bitterness, and then the flavors are more closed off. So grinding coarser and extending the brew time to 4 minutes creates this sort of gentle intensity to the palate that allows us to really appreciate and seek more clearly the flavors in this coffee. I really wish you guys can, go ahead and try this brewing method. It's really fun. It's a really fun way to taste coffee differently, as opposed to the usual or more standard style of brewing these days, which is, to buy a faster brewer, to grind the coffee finer, to increase extraction. Because I think it's not really all about chasing numbers. It's also about finding ways to present the coffee in a way that is unique, distinctive, and fun to drink. And this is really fun. And it's not that expensive. If you want me to compare how these brews taste with this particular brewing style, I would say it's performing very similarly to this. The April brewer with the very expensive April filter paper. So, if you're curious to taste what something like this tastes like, then this is a good way to dip into like this kind of brewing style, right? Going coarse, long brew time, sweet, delicate sort of cup profile. Yeah, it's great. I'm a coffee nerd / coffee enthusiast, so you might think my opinion is not so valid, meaning you might think that you'd need an experienced palate to appreciate these nuances. So to validate my claims, I will let Sam come here and taste this coffee for the first time. and let's hear what she has to say about this coffee. Given that she is not a coffee drinker. She does not drink coffee every day. She does not enjoy it as much as I do. Let's hear her opinion.
Hello. Sorry, I look like a homeless person because I wasn't told I was gonna be in front of the camera.
Hi, Sam. So, can you please try the coffee? Tell me what you think.
Okay. What is that? It's like punchier than normal.
Well, the Kenyan profile is punchy, but what do you taste?
It's like a lemonade with an orange juice combined with cinnamon. But I'm actually I don't know if that's right.
That's fine. That's what you taste.
That's what I think.
Lemon juice combined with orange with some cinnamon. It means an acidity with an orange-like sweetness plus a sugary finish. This is what she's saying, right?
Okay.
So, how about the texture or like the weight of the liquid in your cup?
Thick. I don't know if it's the cup.
Thick?
Yeah. Maybe it's
but
the
not
cup.
as thick as, stuff I brew like espresso.
No.
Or
for a filter that I'm used to drinking.
Oh, you mean tea?
Like,
You're used to tea.
I'm used to tea.
Yeah. So the weight is heavier than tea, but not as heavy as the coffee.
Like a syrup.
Syrupy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's not as heavy as even coffees that I've brewed with other brewers for you. Like the weight is a little bit lighter. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I'm saying. We get a good flavor intensity, a very clean, crisp presentation of the unique flavor notes of this coffee. She tasted it. That's why she used the word intense. The weight is heavy enough so that you don't feel like you're just drinking tea or water. But it's not so weighty so as to cloud the clarity that we want to achieve with this kind of brewing style. So that's why I like this style a lot. How about you? Do you enjoy? Are you enjoying this
yummy.
coffee?
It's like a juice.
You think it's like juice?
Yeah.
Okay.
Zesto for grown-ups.
Zesto for grown-ups. So whenever I have a customer who messages me on Instagram, Shopee, Lazada, email, whatever, and they tell me that their coffee tastes like juice, I know I've done a good job. So I've done a good job today with this brew. All right, let's do the next brewing method, and then we'll talk about that. You might think that the Cafec flour in this thing, right, it can only make that kind of flavor profile I was talking about. Light, more delicate, or clean, clear, crisp, sparkly. Well, what I love about this combination is there's range. Depending on how we brew our coffee, depending on our technique, we can have more flavor outcomes with this brewer. So now, let's talk about another approach I like to do with coffees that are more heavily processed. So for example, we're brewing now Mount Apo 72-hour anaerobic natural. So this coffee has been selling extremely well for us. If you haven't tried it, please do. Not only are you buying super tasty coffee, you're also supporting, for us, most exciting and best local farms right now, Tres Rosas Farm. For this, we will grind at the same grind size as earlier, so 56 for 13 grams. This is relatively coarse, right? Given that, if I wanted to do a 2-pour recipe with this, I would grind it at maybe 52 or 53, right? I'll make an adjustment relative to the Kenyan. But because we're gonna do a 3-pour technique, meaning more pours, instead of 2 pours, we're doing 3 pours, I don't really need to grind that fine. So this particular batch is roasted even lighter than before. But interestingly, because it's an anaerobic natural, it is super easy to turn this thing because the density is lower compared to the Kenyan coffee earlier. For this recipe, our objective is to create a strong, intense, vibrant, punchy cup of coffee. can imagine, this is the kind of coffee you want to serve someone who has never experienced specialty coffee in their lives. So what does that mean? You want them to taste something fun, fruity, expressive, strong, something that will knock your socks off and impress you. Like, that's the kind of coffee we want to brew. So very much opposite to the kind of Kenyan coffee we had earlier. The dose is 13 grams. We'll do 200 grams of, or 200 ml of water, and we'll split that up into 3 pours, 70 ml, 70 ml, 60 ml. To maximize the flavor intensity, we'll do all circle pours in order to really bring up that contact time and make sure we have a very strong, intense cup of coffee. Really fruity, strong tropical scent, hints of wine in there. Really nice. Our brew time for this recipe is around 4 minutes and 15 seconds. Oh, take note, by the way, that for all these episodes that we're shooting when it comes to brewing, we're using the water that we supply to you, the water sachets. And we do that because that really helps with us understanding one another when it comes to dialing in. So if you buy coffee from us and you have not been using our sachets, oh, please do, because you might be surprised at how much better your brews will be. Because, coffee brewing, coffee roasting, coffee brewing, it's an entire system. Sourcing, roasting, brewing, water, technique, all of that matters. So we'll just cool this down a bit and then we will taste. For this part, let's let Sam taste it first and describe what she thinks without me influencing her. And then I'll describe what I taste. That's your cup.
This is the cup.
Okay, Sam has not tried this coffee. As in, not even in a long
No, I
time.
haven't. This is like a tea.
Shit.
It's light, but it's also like syrupy in the heaviness. But it's so different. It's not so fruity. It's almost like I don't want to say herby because it's not herbal. It's not like a grassiness, but it's like...
So there are a lot of fruits in it. A lot of fruits. A winey
It's not
vibe.
citrusy.
Here.
Maybe like a...
Here.
Maybe like an apple.
Let's change the cup. So this is a cooler. This will just immediately drop the brew temp. And because of the shape of the cup, it will allow her to taste it more easily. What do you think?
It tastes good, but I don't know what it is.
Okay.
Maybe I want to say apple, but I don't know if that's it.
Apple. This coffee was roasted on our new system, so the Rubays. That's why she's saying it's tasting like more tea-like. It's because it is much lighter in roast compared to our old profile. And it's also just 3 days old, right? So what she's tasting is the off-gassing at the moment, 3 days old. You should really wait until at least like 10 to 14 days before you do your first brew. But anyway, with this particular recipe, what we're getting is an enhanced body. So it's a lot more juicy, right? Like it's thicker. The weight is heavier than the first brew.
Yeah.
The first brew feels thin in comparison, isn't it?
Oh.
Oh?
Yeah. But the first one was also more intense.
See, so that's the thing. When you decrease the amount of body present in the cup, you get a feeling that the cup is more intense, meaning the acidity, the juiciness or the unique notes of that coffee jumps out at you more. Of course, because you decrease body. Whereas this, the flavor balance is different. Body goes up, therefore the acidity goes a little bit lower. But because the body is up, there's a feeling of jamminess, right? There's a feeling that is thick, syrupy.
Like it coats your mouth.
It coats your mouth. So that's what I mean when we say that this brewer has range. It's not just this one thing that does like a delicate tea-like cup of coffee. It can also do, big body, jammy, sweet. You would say this coffee is sweeter than the first one?
Yeah, that one was like sour,
tart,
acidic.
Yeah. So there, and experiment success, right? So even for someone who's not super familiar with coffee brewing, like she got it. And that's just with a very small technique modification. If we wanted even more intensity, then we could have either ground the coffee a bit finer, 52 instead of 56, or increase the number of pours from 3 to 4 to really increase that contact time. So that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed our overview and review of the Cafec flower. If you did like this video and found it useful, please let us know. Message us, let us know that if you found this helpful. We'd be super happy to talk about your approach and what kinds of coffee you brewed with. And please like and subscribe, it will really help us out a lot. Thank you and see you again soon.